Sox lose the game, but they win the series. We'll talk about it here on the CHGO White Sox postgame show. Post-game show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. White Sox lose today 7-5 in a exciting game. We'll talk about it today. We'll talk about the 2 wins on Saturday and Friday. We'll talk about Kyle Teel's call up to the major leagues, and we'll be joined by Jared Willis from Rate Field to talk about everything the Chicago White Sox. Sox Jack is joining us in the chat saying this team has him believing. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribing to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. We are sorry for the delay as well, a little half hour after the game, but it's all right. We got all-star producer Sarah with us. I'm Sean Anderson. We're here in Studio B.
Well, the Cubs just lost, so, at least you guys have a series win.
Yeah, we
lost our series.
We'll take it. It's the little things, especially with this team. And, we just played the Tigers, and we took 2 of 4.
That's what everyone in the Cubs chat was talking about, is how the Sox beat the Tigers, and we didn't.
We got swept by them the first series, so I'm not going to take, and you guys had some pretty bad umpiring. This is not a Cubs show. TR says this team seems a little too satisfied with the series win. Well, I don't know if you missed last year, TR. They lost 121 games. So any time you win a series, it's pretty fun for a Chicago White Sox fan. Is this where the Dodgers are at? No, you shouldn't be celebrating just a series win. But the fact that this team not only got a series win, but didn't give up and had a chance to win this game in the 9th inning, I think you have to take the little victories. Again, is this team a good baseball team? No. People will argue if they're even fun bad. And if they're not fun bad, they're just bad. But we saw a terrible team. I will take a bad team over a terrible team. This is nothing like 2024. Thrilled by what we saw. Ryan Mariner saying, I was at the game yesterday. Good outing by Hauser into bullpen. We'll talk about it all here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. Let's get into Thursday. A crazy day. We had 2 podcasts and almost a third as Kyle Teel was called up. The Sox won. They split the series with the Tigers on Thursday. The long-term ownership agreement between Jerry Reinsdorf and Justin Ishbia was finally announced, and then Kyle Teel was called up from AAA. At least on the ownership front, I do have 2 more final thoughts. One, I don't know what else some Sox fans wanted, because there are comments on the show saying, well, it's going to be 9 years until this happens. It is the transferring of power. This is happening in Cleveland as well. The Dolan family has sold their franchise, and it's going to take 6 years for the Dolan family to get out and for the new family that has bought the team to come in, or company that has bought the team to come in. So all those signs, shirts, billboards that said, sell the team, he sold the team. Not many transfers of power happen in a day. So this taking the time that it's taking is mainly due to them wanting to build the stadium. So hopefully it's just more things on the horizon for the White Sox fans that are good. I think that, again, if you are frustrated with the news, you're just going to be frustrated with everything about the White Sox. A guy takes a breath, you're going to be frustrated. I think that if at the end of the day, you just have to be excited that something is happening with ownership. It's not a possibility of moving to Nashville and being sold to Dave Stewart. It is being sold to somebody that will keep the team in Chicago where they rightfully belong. So, again, at the end of the day, great job and great news for White Sox fans. Also, I just really didn't believe that this was happening. There was a lot of people being like, oh, well, this was fairly obvious that it was happening. And the more I look back on it, it is pretty obvious. Jerry went out and even said, yeah, we're looking to bring in future investors. And even the piece in Cranes about a year and a half ago saying, I know at some point I will need to sell the team. I didn't think it was happening right now, but the right person came along, and that was Justin Ishbia and his family, Matt and his father, Jeff, to come along and sell this team. But I got a second confirmation on May 4th that the Ishbia deal was happening, and I just brushed it off because I didn't actually believe it. I didn't believe the person that sent me that. We could have had this story confirmed about a month ago, and I just didn't believe it. I didn't think Reinsdorf was actually in the process of selling, and we got an agreement. The White Sox have come out and announced it. Jerry Reinsdorf is supposed to speak at some point. So, again, overall, a very good weekend for the Chicago White Sox fans that started on Thursday. We'll get into Teel in a second, but Brian Marshall said, did Venable give up on that game too early, letting Wilson wear that ninth inning? I don't think so, mainly because this was a bullpen day, and they went to their three guys with length. And to be fair, you could ask if he gave up early by putting in Tyler Alexander in the fourth inning. Tyler Alexander took a 90-minute Uber ride today from Milwaukee to Chicago and pitched in the fourth inning and pitched for 3 innings and did pretty well, but still, it wasn't their just best. They didn't have their best arms today is pretty much what it was happening. Vassell even going past 3 innings was a little bit iffy. So, I think that's just a little bit I think that's a little bit too picky just with this team because they didn't have a starter today. Shane Smith was moved back to Tuesday, and Vassell made the start today. We'll talk about Kyle Teel now with Jared Willis, who is joining us from Rate Field. You can follow him on Twitter over at JWillis, Y's instead of I's, and you can read his work over at ALLCITY.com. He's joining us from a rainy Rate Field. Howdy, Jared.
Hey, Sean.
How's it going? What we're jumping into right now, we talked about the great day on Thursday, the long-term an ownership agreement. You were on the show to talk about the Sox win against the Tigers. And then after all that wraps up, Kyle Teel is called up. I know you weren't on at the ballpark on Friday, but just catching up with the beat reporters and reading what Getz had to say. Why now for Kyle Teel? What did you take away, June I think it was 7th at that point, or June 5th. Why on June 5th did they feel it necessary to call it Kyle Teel?
Yeah, I think it's kind of the thing that we all could see coming for a little bit. Sometimes a guy gets to a point where he's done so much at the AAA level that it's time to make a spot for him and bring him up to the majors and have him see what he can do against Major League pitching. And we all knew the numbers that Kyle Teel was putting up in Charlotte, and so it sort of got to a point where, all right, we need to see what we have here because of what he was doing at that level. And granted, it is a little surprising because at least at the catching position, you already have Teel Quero, who's done some good things this season, and Corey Lee, who himself is still, there's still something there, I think, potentially. So that part was a little surprising, but yeah, ultimately it comes down to you look at what Teel's been doing, and it was time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing that I'm concerned about is balancing Quero and Teel. The quote that we did get from Getz was, sometimes if there's a certain element of someone's game that needs to be worked on, it's tough to really dial in if they're playing so often. So to get a little bit of rest and to continue to develop and work with our coaches on certain aspects of the game is a great opportunity. You see Teel this weekend catching 2 games and DHing once. Quero only in the starting lineup once. Do you feel like that's an issue? I feel like, at least on Friday or Sunday, Quero should have been DHing. He ends up pinch hitting, I think, in the 7th inning, so he did get 2 at-bats today. But I do have a worry that they're going to keep these young guys cold, or a little too cold.
That is kind of the concern, and I feel the same way, where especially with these younger players like this, who are, Quero's also somebody who is still very much developing and very much needs the experience, and I would argue as many at-bats as he can get, whether it's because he's catching or he's DHing or something like that. So that is, I think that's a valid question, and one that we'll have to see kind of how Venable uses his lineups over the next week or so to get a look at the ways that he's going to find at-bats for both of these guys, because that's a fair question, especially for somebody like Teel, who's hit so well in AAA. Then if he comes up to the majors, which is already this big jump, and he's not getting consistent at-bats, then that could throw a bit of a wrench in the development at least. So, yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and one thing too, Getz did end up saying that he expects Teel to mainly be a catcher at the major league level. So that's the one thing that I just find difficult. Quero is mainly a catcher. Teel's mainly a catcher. Outside of them getting slots at DH, there's no other position that it seems like they're willing to put either of these guys at. Right now, it seems like they are catchers, and that's what they're working on. So it's an interesting choice for them to have both of them up on the major league roster right now. What did Venable say, though, after 3 games from Teel? Because, I mean, he had a pretty good first game, had a walk in his first at-bat, then caught a guy stealing, then got his first hit, got caught stealing home, I think, after his first hit. But overall, a pretty good weekend, a good start to his career for Teel. What did Venable have to say on Teel about the person himself?
Yeah, very happy with some of those results, and particularly the way that he just jumped right in, and it felt like hit the ground running. Because sometimes you do see the opposite, where these guys come up and it's a little bit like they're not up to the moment maybe. But that wasn't the case with Teel, and that's a lot of what Venable's praise for him had to do with that. Just the way he's both sides of the ball too, just jumped in and was producing. With the bat and behind the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into today's game. Sox lose 7-5. They had to go to Mike Vassell as the starter today. Shane Smith pushed to Tuesday. First off, is there anything wrong with Smith, or is this just a guy that is, never even pitched to AAA? They're just trying to give him a little bit extra of a breather just because of the workload he's taken on so far?
Yeah, it's really more to do with that. Nothing's wrong. It's just let's give this guy an extra day because he's done so well. As we're approaching now, you're not quite at the midway point, but you're getting close to that spot a couple of weeks from now. So you don't want to push him too hard in the first half of the season and have things start to go wrong in the second half, or God forbid he gets hurt or something along those lines. When you get a chance like this to buy him an extra day or so. That's ultimately what this came down to.
Yeah, and they're running into a similar situation that they ran into with Crochet. The most that Smith has ever thrown in a season is 94 and a third innings pitched. The previous before that, 52 or 59 and 2/3, and then even in college, it was 5 innings pitched, 5 innings pitched, and then I think 3 innings pitched. So just not a lot of guy that has a ton of experience. So they're just again trying to give him that breather. We did see a pretty crazy story though with Tyler Alexander signing today and then taking a 90-minute Uber to Milwaukee or from Milwaukee to Chicago. Must have been pretty expensive.
Yeah, he didn't share what the price tag on that was, but I can imagine. But yeah, he said when he cleared waivers at noon, he signed. He was up in Milwaukee. He told me, he family needed the car, so he had to use an Uber. And he said that his Uber driver didn't quite know what he was getting into when he picked him up. Didn't realize, that this was hey, we're driving all the way to Rayfield from Milwaukee. But yeah, got him here. He said he got here at about 1:30, got dressed, went into the bullpen, got to work, threw a bullpen in the 3rd inning, and then he was out there on the mound. But he did say that was something that at least mentally, he knew that was a possibility. It was something he was at least mentally prepared for, and it stayed loose. And so, for as wild as it sounds, he did come into today expecting that this was a possibility. But still, I cannot imagine doing what he did today.
No, and this one's like Adrian Hauser times 10. I mean, Hauser, when they were like, oh, he met Quero 2 hours before the game. It's like, oh, well, there was rumblings that Hauser was signing on Friday, and then he pitches on Tuesday. Like Alexander truly had 90 minutes to get here and a 90-minute car ride to just be alone with his thoughts. So yeah, he got him prepped for the game for sure. One thing I do want to bring up. Vassell makes the start today. There was some talk on the broadcast that maybe Vassell will be used as a starter. He's a Rule 5 player, so I think that they will keep him on the 26-man roster for as long as possible. Do you see them looking to take advantage of Vassell's maybe length that he could possibly provide? And do you see him at all touching the rotation?
Yeah, I think today was sort of a first look at that as a possibility and kind of a test for how that's going to work out. And I think he did fairly well. Obviously they weren't going to push him too hard and push that pitch count up too high. But yeah, in order to keep him on the 26-man, you've got to find a spot where that's possible. And so if he can work his way into your rotation at times, or even serve as that that the swingman role to some extent, then that's a big factor as well. So this very much looks to me like that's exactly what they're trying to do is let's maximize what we can get from this guy so that we can hold on to him.
Absolutely. We'll talk about Adrian Hauser, some Luis Robert Jr., Miguel Vargas, Chase Mydroth stuff right after a break. Stick with us, Jared, as we're going to take a break here on the CHGO White Sox postgame show presented by Bet365. We want to let you know about our friends over at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside is your one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from. Plus, they have easy online ordering and in-store pickup. And the best part? Not only are they Illinois' favorite dispensary, but they likely have a location near you all across Illinois, in the city like in Wrigleyville and River North, to the suburbs like Champaign and South Beloit, all the way up to South Beloit where, Tyler Alexander was taking an Uber ride from. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify for new customers. And if you're an existing user, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Lab branded item. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day. Only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Monarch Money. Maybe you're not as lucky as I am. I have a personal CFO for me. I have my wife. Thankfully, I just give all of my money to my wife and she figures out all of that stuff. Maybe you're not as lucky. Finances can be very messy and confusing. Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you could stop earning and start growing. It's more than your just average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals. And don't just manage your money. Start building wealth with 50% off your first year for our listeners. It is Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app for 2025. It's the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 5-star reviews. And with your accounts, credit cards, and investments in one place, you'll always know where your money stands without the hassle. So get control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code CHGO at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code CHGO. Let's get to CHGO White Sox postgame show presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365. Going out to right field with Jared Willis, our CHGO baseball beat writer. We did see the return of Luis Robert Jr. on Friday. Friday was a really good day for him. Saturday, Sunday, kind of back to what we were seeing before the rest for Robert. What did you take away from Getz speaking about Robert on Friday? And then how did you take him kind of coming back from this brief stint or a brief break?
It's frustrating because it feels very much like this is more of the same of what we've seen. He just still looks like the same hitter. Maybe because he is so physically talented, he's still going to have moments where he's going to connect with something and he's going to give you a big hit. But as we've seen all season long, those are so few and far between. A lot of bad at-bats, a lot of times where the only thing he's really able to give you is good defense in center field and speed on the base paths on the rare occasion that he gets on base. And so, today was a good example of that in particular with that ninth inning rally that was, came close. If he doesn't leg that one out, that's a double play that ends the game. And he at least gets to first base to keep things going, steals second. Give him a chance. And so there are little things like that he's still doing well, but it's just he is not hitting. He's not getting on base the way that they need him to. And yeah, so far, based on one series worth of games, he still looks very much like the same hitter.
Yeah, and there were moments today, that fielder's choice, like you mentioned, great hustle by him to keep the game alive. Got robbed a little bit there by Witt too, I believe in the 7th, where Witt just makes a great play in the hole and makes a beautiful throw that really, him can do at shortstop. And then there was one that it was a slider middle against Lorenzen that he crushed, but just pulled it way too foul. Like if he was just a second back on that, I feel like that's a home run. So I feel like, you're mostly right in that it feels like still the same Luis Robert Jr. It just feels like something's off with him. And I don't know if it's just his actual eyesight or if it's just the mental stuff really fogging him up. But yeah, it's been tough to watch Robert so far. Final guy that I want to bring up hasn't been tough to watch. Just played in his 19th game, so hasn't even played 20 games for the White Sox, but led off today's game with a walk and then was later driven in by Miguel Vargas with the 2-run home run. Sox didn't get a hit for a long time in this game, so thankfully Tauchman got on and gave him that 2-0 lead. But Tauchman's been really, really good for the Sox and above an on-base percentage over 410. He's got 3 home runs in around 84 plate appearances, an OPS above 170. What do you see as Tauchman's value as we approach the trade deadline? Do you think he's one of their more valuable pieces?
Yeah, I think so, especially because what you're seeing from him this season, he's got a little bit of a resume. He showed when he stepped in for the Cubs when Cody Bellinger got hurt a couple of years ago, and really put together a very solid season. So teams that are looking at him know that what you've seen from Mike Tauchman in this small sample size this season isn't a flash in the pan necessarily, or isn't just somebody who happens to be having a few good weeks. He's a very, very smart hitter. Talks and thinks hitting a lot. I know that from seeing him, talking to him, being around him in the Cubs locker room the last couple of seasons, and then a little bit now here in the White Sox locker room as well. This is somebody who takes the craft of hitting pretty seriously, and so today's a good example too of the kinds of things he can do. 2 walks in crucial spots. He's going to give you a quality at bat one way or the other. So I do think trade deadline wise, he has made himself into one of the more valuable pieces that they have.
Yeah, he's been fun to watch, and I mean, I think they showed a graphic that him and Mydroth batting 1-2. This team's been 7-7 in those 14 games, and when they score first, I think they're like 5-3, probably now 5-4 after today's loss. But it's been real nice to see those two at the top of the lineup consistently for the Sox. Anything else that I've missed or maybe haven't asked you about over the past 3 days? It's been a busy week in White Sox world. Is there anything still left on the table that I haven't brought up for you?
I feel like we have, for as many different things have happened, Sean, you've done an amazing job of getting to all of it. So my hat's off to you. If I was wearing a hat right now, I'd tip it.
I'll tip it for you. Appreciate you. All right, enjoy your ride home. Appreciate you joining us from Wright Field, and make sure you're checking out Jared's writing up at ALLCHGO.com. You can follow him on Twitter at JWillisWise instead of Eyes. Appreciate it, Jared. Safe ride home, and make sure you roll those windows down. And I think the rain helps with clearing out smoke. I don't know anything. I don't smoke.
Yeah.
But the humidor's full. Yeah. All right. Appreciate it. Sometimes remote calls are a little awkward. Thank you, Jared, for joining us. Appreciate him joining us from Wright Field. Let's just go briefly through the games on Friday. Sox win 7-2. Palacios hit a single in the bottom of the second. Teel walked in his first plate appearance, and then Robert with an RBI single made it 1-0. In the top of the third, Martin surrendered back-to-back homers to Garcia and Pasquantino, making it 2-1. In the top of the four, Teel catches Water stealing for his first caught stolen in Major League Baseball. In the bottom of the fourth, Sox load the bases after Teel's first Major League hit, but no damage is done as Robert and Rojas were K'd. And then in the bottom of the fifth, Tauchman, who we've just brought up, tied the game with a solo shot, making it 2-2. Davis Martin in that game on Friday, 6 innings pitched, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, no walks, 7 Ks. And I wonder if he should be increasing his changeup usage. 12 lifts, 31 swings on his four-seam fastball and changeup. That's a 34% called strike plus whiff percentage. We know his best pitch is the changeup. His second best pitch is a four-seam fastball. He throws his cutter second most. I think he can probably just go more four-seam changeup. I could be wrong, and I know that the cutter is effective versus righties, so that's where he mainly uses that cutter, but I could feel like he could probably just get rid of it. In the bottom of the eighth, very exciting inning for the Sox. Benny with a leadoff double, then 2 walks, load the bases for Robert. Robert with another 2 RBI single, making it 4-2 Sox. Another walk loads the bases. Teel scored on a wild pitch, and then Miguel Garcia got Bucknered over on the third base side, allowing another run to score, making it 6-2, and a wild pickoff attempt allowed Elko to score, making it 7-2. Sox win that one on Friday, 7-2. Saturday, Sox win 4-1. Pasquantino started off the game in the top of the second with a solo homer, making it 1-0. And then in the bottom of the second, Josh Rojas doubles, and everyone's man, Tim Elko, hits a 2-run homer, 2-1 Sox, and he's rounding third base. Shout out to Melissa, SoxMon72 in our diehard Discord channel. As Elko's rounding third base, he gives a little bit of an elk celebration to the dugout. So first of all, White Sox promotions have been on it. If Elko's still around, we need some elk antler hats, I think, ASAP. So that's a pretty good promotion idea there by Melissa. But also, I mean, is this a Full House reference? I don't think Jared Willis asked Tim Elko if it was a reference to Uncle Joey's Bockwinkel or whatever the hell the moose was. But, you know, they could ask, and maybe Tim Elko has some Nick at Night thoughts. I loved Full House. Do you have any Full House thoughts?
I'm a big Full House
Great
person.
show. Yeah, I've never gotten to Fuller House, but, I mean, you talk about, like, 6 to 10-year-old Sean. I mean, every single day, all I was watching was Full House. Probably could have spent my time a little bit better. You know, maybe I could have been an actual athlete if I wasn't watching Full House so much. But anyways, Elko with the Full House celebration makes it 2-1. In the bottom of the third, Chase Mydroth hits his second career home run, 3-1 Sox. Adrian Hauser in that game, 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 6 Ks. His season ERA is now down to 1.48 with the White Sox. A very, very surprising start for Hauser with the Sox. I don't know if it's successful or if it's sustainable, if the success is sustainable. 16 balls in play on Saturday, an average exit velocity of 90.9 miles per hour. Usually when someone's real effective, it's under that 90 mile per hour average exit velocity. So seeing it above 90 is a little bit concerning, even closer to 91 miles per hour. He had 9 whiffs on 44 swings, which isn't good, and only a 23% called strike plus whiff percentage. That MLB average is around 30%, so about 7% less than the major league average. He is skinnier, but his velo dipped in this game. He's about half a tick lower than where he typically was. That was a big thing that the Mets were talking about, was that he hadn't been throwing this hard with the Mets in his second start with the Sox, and that he looked a lot skinnier. I don't know if he's able to keep those velo jumps up, and that will just make him less effective like most pitchers. In the bottom of the 8th, Vargas hit a single. He moved to second on a wild pitch. Teel with an infield single moved Vargas to third, and Quero with an RBI sac fly gave the Sox their 4th run, and that's where they won 4-1. And then today in the bottom of the first, Tauchman with a leadoff walk. Vargas hits a 2-run home run, making it 2-0 Sox. Vassell started the game, and he was all right through the first go-around through the order, but then Pasquantino hit a 1-out single, and he was driven in by a 2-run Salvi home run to make it 2-2. In the top of the 6th, the Sox turned their 4th double play. They would later turn their 5th double play. That was the most in a game so far this season, a ton of ground balls, but in the top of the 7 is where the Royals make their damage. Cano with a leadoff single. He was moved over on a sac bunt. Then Leisure comes in for Alexander. He gives up an RBI double to India, making it 3-2 Royals. Then a RBI single to Miguel Garcia, making it 4-2 Royals. And then in the bottom of the 8th, the Sox only have 1 hit. Mydroth comes in, gets their 2nd hit, thankfully. In the top of the 9th, the Royals extend their lead with an RBI single, 5-2, and then Witt hits a 2-run homer, making it 7-2. I think going back to Brian's question, did you leave Wilson in too long? I don't know who else you would go for. I understand it's only a 3, well, I guess it would be 4-2. It's only a 2-run lead. I mean, you could go to Boozer, but I just don't think you want to overwork them. But you could also play devil's advocate and say they have a day off on Monday. So, you could have maybe made the case that they shouldn't have been pitching Wilson. I don't think that's a bad question by Brian. I didn't really blink an eye, though. I think they were just trying to use the least amount of pictures possible. But in the bottom of the 9th, I know that someone earlier said, this team is too happy with a sweep. They just really aren't that talented. And the fact that they aren't that talented and are able to score as many runs as they did in the 9th inning and even give Elko a shot to possibly give them the win, you got to give their effort and heart. I mean, they didn't give up. Tauchman led off that inning with a walk. Mydroth single to right field. Benny single to left field. Then Vargas walked again. That drove in Tauchman. Then Quero single to right. That scored Mydroth. Then Slater lined out to the shortstop. That was their first out of the inning. Then Robert had that grounders, that fielder's choice that he was able to beat out at first base. Benny scored on that. Then Rojas walked, loading the bases again. And then Elko struck out, but still had a chance to possibly put them over the top. So I liked the effort this weekend from the Sox. I thought it was, impressive to see. It still feels like what they were in May. It feels like they've left April behind, and April will be their worst month. It feels like May and June, they've truly turned the corner. OJ's Glove is asking, or is curious, how the Astros series will go. We'll talk about that in just a second. We'll also talk about Jack Caglione. And we'll also talk about a former Astro in Forrest Whitley, who I think the Sox should pick up. Stick tuned with us here on the CHGO White Sox postgame show presented by Bet365. We want to let you know about our friends over at Empire Today. I love my cousin Jake. He works at one of those big box stores, and each and every day, he has a new assignment. Jake, you're working self-checkout. Jake, you're working paint. Jake, you're working flooring. And if you're lucky, that day you go in when Jake's working flooring and you say, can you help me out? You'll probably just get a blank stare. You're not asking my 22-year-old cousin Jake for professional help on your flooring. What you're actually going to do is call the experts over at Empire, who have a curated selection of the floors that look good in anyone's home. They have experts who can actually install these floors into your home so your floors look lovely, and you can come get an free in-home estimate when you schedule with our friends over at Empire. You can head over to empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details. You can receive a $350 off discount when using promo code CHGO, a $350 off discount when you use promo code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details. But with Empire Today, you get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you could schedule installation as soon as the next day. You are getting professional help from the professionals over at Empire. You can call them over at 588-2300 Empire Today. Michael Leroy saying, good week, still have to wait until 2034 for ownership change. I mean, brother, come on. I mean, 2029 to 2033, they can have a 50-50 split. And if the Reinsdorfs at some point, knock on wood, I mean, if Jerry passes away, Michael can just sell the team by 2029. They don't have to wait until 2034. That's the point when Ishbia will be sick of waiting. So, yeah, you could wait until 2034, but the Ishbias are growing their, growing their involvement in this franchise, and they will be taking over this team little by little, year by year. I don't know if you have to wait until 2034 for the ownership change because, again, by 2029, this could just be more of a 50-50 thing, and the Reinsdorfs are just more along for the ride as the Ishbias really start to take over. OJ's Glove. I'm grateful Jerry finally announced it. You got what you wanted. I don't understand why people are still complaining. You wanted him to sell. I mean, it wasn't going to be a switch in a day. The MLB owners have to still, I think, approve this, and it hasn't even been approved. So I don't know. I don't know. They said sell, don't sell. Are we in an ad break? God. We got to let you know about our friends over at Circus Sports. Whatever the sport, the app to bet is Circus Sports Illinois. Circus Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circus Sports Illinois has the highest betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service, so you can bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season, whether it's spreads, props, futures, or in-game wagering. Circus Sports has it all. You can fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. So download your new bookie today at circusports.com. Must be 21 plus or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. And shout out to the people at Circo. They have a beautiful resort and casino that you can go check out if you're ever in Vegas. Again, it's a good week for White Sox fans. You got that announcement of the ownership. You got Teel called up. You have Teel, Quero, Mydroth all in the same lineup. Shane Smith has been very fun to watch. Davis Martin's up and down, but Friday was very fun to watch for Martin. And I think even then, you look at their 9-hitter, Elko is one of the more fan favorites on this team. I mean, it's like Mark Reynolds 2.0. It's a ground out, it's a strikeout, or it's a home run, but play solid defense at first. Does bring some pop. I had hope when the 9th hitter came up today. Thought he had at least a chance if Estevez let a fat one over the middle. I don't know. It was a good week for the White Sox. I mean, I could tell you probably 52 weeks last year that were worse than this week. Last year sucked. This is much, much better than last year. I'd say this is even better than 2023 when they were 62-101. They might have the same, or 61-101. They might have the same record this year, and I'll say that this team's much better than that 2023 team because that team had a ton more talent and a ton more money spent on them. Like $100 million more spent on that team than this year. I think it's 175 for the 2023 team to less than 75 million on this team. So I don't know. Let's get into two things first. Robert was reactivated. I'll use activated right now. He seemingly adjusted his stance. We've talked about our pal Nick Bledsoe, who's a data analyst, and he's been able to put together some reports on Vaughn's and Robert's swings on how to tweak and adjust them. And one thing with Robert that I noticed from StatCast, and then Nick went even further in depth with, was the intercept point for Robert in 2023 was a little bit more out front, and he's waiting for that ball to get a little bit deeper. It's like negative 0.9 in 2023, and then in 2024 and 2025, it's like negative 0.2. So he's waiting, about, a foot or an inch pretty much for that ball to get deeper, and that's just causing for worse contact points and just worse results in general. So we did see an adjusted swing or an adjusted stance from Robert. What Schriffen explained it as was he's trying to be more athletic, and they're trying to have him have less of a bend. So he's a little bit more upright. And then I also believe Nick said that he's a little bit more closed off. So Robert was a little bit more open. Now he's a little bit more closed off and a little bit more straight. So hopefully that will help with outside pitches. Hopefully he'll be able to keep that weight a little bit more on his back foot, and then on outside pitches still be able to drive that to the right side of the field. So there definitely was an adjustment from Robert. I just don't know if he is ready to attack, and I don't know if he's ready to be that type of killer. It seems like his performances so far have really drug him down into the mud, and I don't think that break has helped him too much, because you'd even think that the performance on Friday, he'd be able to build off of it. Saturday and Sunday didn't look as good as Friday, so we'll see. Final one. Royals called up Jack Caglione. Caglione was picked right after Hagen Smith was in the 2024 draft. Smith went 5th. Caglione went 6th to the Royals. I, at the time, didn't understand the Hagen Smith pick. I thought it was mainly just because they think that this guy is going to be a major league starter, and that they think 6 years of a starter is pretty much more worthful than a 6 years of a rookie hitter. They really don't seem to have a want to spend on pitching, and as we've seen with Cease, Crochet, Giolito, etc., when they have an opportunity to move on from some of this homegrown pitching, they take that opportunity too. So I think, at least with the Hagen pick, they were a little bit too much of, what if everything went right? And not really looking at what this team needed. And this team needed a superstar hitter that could drive in runs for the next 6 years. And Caglione looks like that player. He just looks extremely athletic, looks like Bryce Harper-ish at the plate. I mean, just muscles on top of muscles. And he went 4 for 4 today. His best game as a rookie, had 3 hits over 100 miles per hour. Just really impressive hitting day from Caglione. And I don't know, it does look like a mistake. OJ's Glove is asking, why hasn't Hagen pitched in a while? He has been down at the Arizona Complex League. We talked to Ian Eskridge about this, I think, last week. And they were looking at his actual delivery, and I believe changing things in his delivery to be a little bit more sharper and a little less wild. So Hagen has been pitching, just not at AA at the Arizona Complex to tweak things right now. Unfortunately, Justin Ishbia can't take over during this rebuild because Jerry can still sell off talent. I don't know what you mean by that, Titus. I mean, like, there isn't really any talent on this team. I mean, it's Robert, and his value's in the absolute tank. Shane Smith's there, but Shane Smith is like extremely controllable. That's extremely desirable piece for the White Sox. So I mean, Ishbia, when he takes over and is a part of it, like that's likely going to be 2027, 2028. Hopefully there is more of a say from Ishbia at that point. But at that point, that's when the talent will be developed. It's going to be hopefully cheap and young talent like Braden Montgomery, Colson Montgomery, guys that have several years of control that they won't have to get rid of. There is nobody right now that they'll need to get rid of in 2027. Maybe Martin, maybe Cannon, but none of those guys are like true pieces. Like they're maybe a fourth or a fifth starter, but one thing falls off for them, and I really think that they just might fall off as pitchers. So at the end of the day, I wish I saw Jack Caglianone in a White Sox uniform, and I'm just upset that he's not. One final guy that I want in a White Sox uniform is Forrest Whitley. Forrest Whitley was DFA'd by the Astros today. In 2016, he was a first-round pick by the Astros, 17th overall in that draft. He's 6'7". In Baseball America, just to give you an idea, because this is similar for most of the prospect rankings, his Baseball America rankings pre-2018, 10th in baseball, pre-2019, 5th in baseball, pre-2020, 25th in baseball, and pre-2021, 80th in baseball. He missed all of 2020 because he was a minor leaguer, didn't make it up to the major leagues, so he just did not pitch in 2020. And then 2021, March 10th, 2021, he went under Tommy John surgery. So he missed all of 2020, all of 2021. Finally made his major league debut in 2024 and hasn't been that good for the Astros. A lot of command issues, a ton of walks, and then when he does get walks, he does allow a decent amount of hits. But when you look at his stuff, the stuff is interesting. It's a former first-round pick, a huge dude at 6'7", gets a decent amount of extension at 6 feet, 6 inches, but you think that he could possibly get a little bit more because he's not even extending his full body length at this point. But when you look at the stuff, the four seam sits at 96.3 miles per hour. It's a 103 TJ Stuff Plus. You can go follow at TJ Stats on X. He has a ton of great graphic works. But the four seamer, a 103 TJ Stuff Plus. The sinker also sits at 96.3, a 104 TJ Stuff Plus. The curve, 81.6 miles per hour, a 109 TJ Stuff Plus. The cutter, 90.7 miles per hour, a 116 TJ Stuff Plus. A slurve that sits at 84.9 miles per hour, a 115 TJ Stuff Plus, and then a change that sits at 87.8 miles per hour, a 110 TJ Stuff Plus. The thing that sticks out to me is obviously 5 pitches above a 100 Stuff Plus, which is woohoo. Hasn't been effective with that. My first thought was maybe they get rid of the windup for him and maybe simplify the mechanics, and he just starts from the stretch always, with whether it's a runner on or not a runner on, but he already does that. So I don't know exactly how to fix the command stuff. I'm not a pitching coach, but I think it's worth the shot and worth the project. I mean, Bryce Wilson hasn't been that fun. I'd like to see what Forrest Whitley can do. He's a guy that can give you a decent amount of innings as well. I think it's a guy that they could probably make some tweaks to. I mean, that cutter at 116 TJ Stuff Plus is insane. You look at his change access too, the access that the change sits on. It's at 2 o'clock if you're looking at a clock. Davis Martin's kick change access is 130. So I wonder if they're able to play with that changeup a little bit as well. They've been able to do it with Martin. They've been able to do it with Shane Smith. So I really do think that this is somebody worth a flyer on that the Sox should take. One of those players I thought this offseason was Brendan Davis, former Cub prospect, and he has been phenomenal with the Yankees system. And you're just wondering, why isn't that 25-year-old getting a shot on this White Sox team when he's never made a major league debut? Right now, he's got 467, 529, 733 in AAA. He's got 7 hits, a double, a triple, and just absurd numbers so far in AA and AAA for Brendan Davis. So I don't know. I feel like just these former first rounders are people that the White Sox need to take shots on. It didn't happen. Maybe it'll happen with Whitley is my main thought. Sox are off on Monday. We have shows on Tuesday and Thursday, post-games for this Astros series coming up. It is going to be Shane Smith versus Lance McCullers on Tuesday, Sean Burke versus Gusto on Wednesday. They did some damage against Gusto when he came in when the Astros were back here, I believe, in April. And then Davis Martin versus Framber Valdez. I think the Sox can take 2 or 3 again. I think they could take the first 2 of them. I'm not sure. Gregory's saying I think Ozzy's right. They're playing with confidence or more confidence, and absolutely, I think they like each other. They're fairly young. They don't have the stink and the stench of this team, the stench of the expectations the 2023 team had. Like, this is a team that's coming off a 121 loss season. As long as they're improving by 10 games, I think most people in Chicago will be happy. We have to wrap up here on the CHGO White Sox podcast. This has been presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and make sure you subscribe to the CHGO Sports YouTube channel. Thank you to Sarah for producing the show. I'm Sean Anderson. We'll see you on Tuesday night after the Sox take on the Astros. Goodbye.
We all silly like the mayor.